Okay, so we're at game 2 of the tournament, and my next opponent was someone who had also had a master game 1, and that was the Demon Army. And so this is kind of a magic heavy. It's a 2250 game, and what you see on the screen is everything in his army. So he's got very few models, very high points each. So starting on the left, he has Flesh Hounds. He's got a unit of Demonettes. I don't remember, there's something on a cavalry base right next to the Demonettes. I think it's some kind of herald or something. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, he's got 4 flamers behind them, some bloodletters. With the bloodletters is a herald BSB on a juggernaut. He's got the Lord of Change, 5 more flesh hounds, and a large unit of pink horrors behind them, and there's a herald in that unit as well. So he's got 10 power dice. He's got 2 with the horror unit, 2 with the herald in the horror unit, 3 with the Lord Change, 1 with the Demonettes, and then 2 for the team. So I have 3 dispel dice and 2 scrolls, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. So my game plan is to get into combat as quickly as possible. The problem I have is units he has are actually pretty good in combat too. So anyway, on my side of the board, you can see how he deployed on his furthest right side. So on my side of the board, I actually went furthest on the left because I need to get rid of that horror unit. I'm not really super thrilled about getting engaged in combat with either of his other 2 infantry blocks. So my thinking is I'm going to come in at the side and either be able to get some flank charges or maybe not engage, but I don't want to get directly in front of him to where he can cram them down my throat if he chooses to. So anyway, from right to left as we're looking at it, there's Knights Errant, Pegasus Knights, 20 men-at-arms, more Pegasus Knights with my general right next to him, 5 Knights of the Realm right behind them, Skirmishing Bowmen, got 9 Knights Errant, or 8 Knights Errant, and my BSB is with them, so it's a unit of 9. Then there's 9. I take that back. Next to them are my Grail Knights. There's 5 of them. There's a damsel with them. On the hill, I have my 20 peasant bowmen with my trebuchet, and then to the left of that, I have 9 Knights of the Realm. So it's his choice of whether to go first or not, and he decides to give it to me. There's just another look at the deployment. So turn 1. Really move everybody up. Again, I'm trying to rush him. He's magic heavy. I need to get the spellcasters out of the way. At this point, I was keeping my Pegasus Knights pulled back just a little bit because I just need to. He has a couple things that can fly or that have pretty good mobility, and I just need to make sure they're available for him. I bring my general up behind my men-at-arms unit. I would love for him to get the charge on that Lord of Change. I think I can take him down. So he's up there ready to do that. I left my archers on the hill because I was assuming I was in range, and when it came down to it, I was out of range for everybody. So total wasted turn with the bowmen. You'll also notice that nowhere on the board are my fast cav. It's because I forgot to deploy them. So he very, very graciously allowed me to deploy them, but in the spirit of not abusing it, I stuck them all the way at the right-hand side of the board. So they were, for the most part, out of the game, but at least I could try to do something with them. So here I was a little bit surprised. Demons turn 1, he decided to just go ahead and hold back with everybody. And I guess it makes sense. He's magic heavy. He has his flesh hounds in front of his horror unit, so that it's going to be just a little bit dicey for me to get in close. And I can't afford to stay back, so it kind of forces me to make a difficult decision. But even with all his other troops on his right flank, he decided to stay back with them. So not sure what he was thinking, but he probably had some kind of plan in mind for that. Now keep in mind too, the guy I'm playing is a 40k player. This is the first time he's played Fantasy in about a year, and it's probably only about the 3rd time he's ever played Fantasy. So his turns, especially with all that magic, and being unfamiliar with the spells, like the guy in his horror unit took the Lore of Metal, but he was unfamiliar with all those spells. He's unfamiliar with the Siege spells, so my turns are taking 15 minutes, and his turns are taking an hour, probably. His magic phases are taking over half an hour. So it influences how things work out later on. But so anyway, turn 1, he really just stays still, moves his flamers up a hair, and then just starts casting magic all over the place. I don't remember exactly what happened there, what went off, what didn't, but for the most part, it didn't really hurt me too much. You can see during his movement, he did take his Lord of Change and put him in whatever that thing was. That caused some problems because we didn't know to treat it as just rough terrain or treat it as if it's a house. Can you fly into it? We just didn't know, and it was an issue. So anyway, he put him there to get some protection and just to sit there and cast spells. You can see he blasted my peasant bowmen out. There's only 4 left out of 10 starting. And you can see there's 2 horrors that were created in the process of doing that. And I decided to put them there in front of my BSB unit, so I couldn't really do a whole lot except attack them, which was fine with me. It didn't matter. So on my turn 2, you can see I took the unit that had the horrors in front of it. I discharged the horrors. I took my Grail Knights and moved them up a little bit. And here I decided to take the Pegasus Knights and go ahead and put them within easy charge range of the Fleshhounds. And my thought was he would probably charge me, I would flee, and get a nice counter charge with my other troops. So that's what I was thinking. On the left-hand side of the board, I had no idea that my Knights Errant were in range, and so I didn't charge with them. They were sitting there, and then at the end of the declared charges, I had to measure for their impetuous test, and they were in range, and so they got the charge, but I didn't want the charge, because I think even with the charge, those Fleshhounds are going to tear me up. So then I just walked into a mistake. I took those Pegasus Knights on the left, and I didn't want them behind my Knights Errant, because I really thought that they would get broken, and then the Fleshhounds would get a free charge of my Pegasus Knights. So I moved them up in front of that impassable terrain, just to give me some more options of what to do up there. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to fly behind them. Barely out of sight of that impassable terrain, you can see my men-at-arms just kind of sitting there. So there's another view of that combat that I didn't want. Looks like I killed a couple of them. He killed one of mine. I didn't get him to pop through combat res, and so come turn the next round of combat, I think he's just going to, like I said, really tear me up. Then I got his horror unit down. If you look at the top left of the board, there's like 4 horrors sitting up there. A stone landed on them, killed a few. They're either down a wizard level or they're getting close to it. And so that was kind of nice. It's out of the picture, but I did move my bowman up. And you can see the fast cav coming around the side. So on his turn 2, he took his Fleshhounds, and instead of charging my Pegasus Knights, they were able just to charge my Grail Knights. Totally surprised me. I didn't know they had movement 18. I thought they were 16. So kind of a nasty surprise there. Although I think my Grail Knights, if anybody, can hold up, and even I don't have to beat those Fleshhounds. I just need to hold for a turn, and I can get my other Knight units to come in there and support them pretty well. So I'm okay with that. He, being new to fantasy, he wasn't really clear on the differences between my Knight units. So I'm not sure if he would have chosen to charge the Grail Knights had he understood them. But then again, he wasn't going to reach any of the other Knight units, and my guess is he probably would have anyway. So anyway, that was his turn 2. And then here's where some of my mistakes come to play. He took his Flamers and charged my men-at-arms to get them out of the way so that his Demonettes could charge my Pegasus Knights. And I was totally surprised. I didn't know that Demonettes had a movement of 6 and a charge range of 12. That's the first time I've ever played against Demonettes, and yeah, that would be something important to remember. He also declared a charge from his Bloodletters on my men-at-arms, which was obviously going to be a failed charge. I'm not sure why he did that, but maybe he planned on moving them anyway, and so whatever. So I'm not really worried about the Flamers with my men-at-arms. I think they're better in combat, but my men-at-arms are going to have so much combat res, I'm going to be okay. I'm I'm very worried about my Pegasus Knights. And then mistake number 3 with them, or number whatever, is I should have fled when they charged me. But I saw the impassable terrain behind me. I didn't want to flee into impassable terrain and automatically be killed. So I held, and then I realized after I decided to hold that I have flying guys and they could have flown over that. The only risk I had was rolling anything less than maybe a 8 or 9. So, yeah, so apparently in Demon's turn 2 I realized all the mistakes I made during my turn 2. So here we have my knight units either locked in combat or getting charged by his guys. So we will see what happens during Demon's turn 2 in just a moment.